Hey everybody, welcome back to How to Vassalfaux Part 3, Playing the Game. This is a video series where I show you how to use Vassal to play everybody's favorite miniatures game, Malifaux. So let's pick up from where we left off last time. At the end of the last video, you were in a game, strats and schemes were all set, your crew was chosen and deployed, and it was the start of a new turn. So at the start of every new turn, you're going to want to advance the turn counter, clear moved from the models, reshuffle, discard, and draw a new hand, and flip initiative, and then you're good to go. So let's take a look here. We are in the middle of a game. I've got my Neverborn, my lovely Neverborn, got Lilith and some Tots and a young Nephilim over here versus Ophelia and two of her Bayou Gremlins. So like I said, the first thing you're going to want to do is advance the turn counter. The turn counter is right here. We're going to say that we're picking up in the middle of a game here. So I'm currently on turn 2, going into turn 3. To advance the turn counter, there's two ways you can do it. You can right click and choose next, or like every counter in this game, the hotkey for a counter is either N or B. So B would go back and N will go back forward. The next thing you're going to want to do is clear moved. Now if you look at these models, you can see that the rim isn't the solid purple color that Neverborn are known for. It actually has a little bit of white trim on the one side. That same thing can be seen on the gremlin models here. You see that we've got the brownish mud color for the gremlins and then the whitish rim. It's on all my models here. That indicates that those models have activated. If we go up here and click the clear moved, it changes all the rims back to that solid color. Now, when you move a model naturally, the game will automatically change them to the slightly lightened portion of the rim color, so you can identify that model as having activated. If you wanted to just activate or deactivate a model, toggle moved basically, you can go to the right click and choose movement, and then choose mark moved. Or if you notice there, the hotkey was Control M. So the other way to denote that is Control M. The last thing I want to point out here is, unless you physically move the model forwards or backwards, the move doesn't toggle on the model, so you're going to have to track that manually with Control M or with right click and choosing Marked Moved. So now let's go ahead and reshuffle our hand and prep our cards for the next turn. The first thing you do is you click the reshuffle button. That'll reshuffle your deck. Then you discard any junk that you don't want to keep. I'll hold on to these masks because they let my tots sprint. Then you pull your new cards down into your hand by clicking and dragging. Lilith draws 7 because of Rush of Magic. And then at this point you would stone if you want to cycle cards. We're just going to say, for the sake of example, I'm going to stone for the cards. I'll click on my Soulstone counter. I will choose B. I will hit B, the B hotkey, to roll my Soulstones back. And then draw 2 new cards into my hand and discard the chaff. So let's see, get rid of that 4. I have enough masks, I don't need that 3, and get rid of that 8 of Crow. And now I've got my hand. And the last thing we'll do over here is flip initiative. Go up to the single card flip, click it, and there you go. I flipped an 11, and I'm happy. Next, let's talk about movement, walking or charging versus flight or incorporeal. So here on my map, the reason that I specify the difference between flying and incorporeal, or walking or charging, is flying or incorporeal doesn't care about severe terrain or blocking or really terrain in general. But walking does. You got to actually walk around stuff. So let's talk about walking first with Lilith here. So you click the model that you want to walk with. Left and right on your keypad will turn her the direction that you want her to face. It's denoted by that little green arrow that shows her facing. And then to walk her, forward or up on your arrow pad is 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and walk her around this cactus and get as close as I can to that gremlin. 1 inch at a time. Lilith's walk is 6 inches. And That's it. So it looks like I'm probably out of range still, unless I'm carrying her big sword. So let's say I wanted to undo the move. I really don't recommend using back, even though back is walk backwards 1 inch. But because I've done turning in this, it's really going to be hard for me to exactly match the amount of turns that I did in this walk. So the best way to undo moves is the undo button in the top left corner here. You're just going to click, I'm going to click that, and it will remember exactly how much I turned and get me to right back to the position that I started in. Okay, so as I said, the up arrow is 1 inch, but and I'll show you that right there. There's 1 inch forward. Undo that. But then there's also a ½ inch. If you choose your model and you hold Control and press forward, that moves you ½ inch. The third bit of movement is if you hold Shift, you can nudge a model. So I'll show you just nudging her up, down, left, right. So that's if you want to just nudge her so that she's just perfectly out of line of sight or something. Okay, let's talk about flying and incorporeal. Over here with my young Nephilim standing on the other side of the river. Normally we'd call that river severe terrain and he'd take half steps through it. But he can fly, so he doesn't care about that. The easy way to do this is to pop out an aura that's equal to his movement. So he can fly 5 inches. So I right click, go to auras, and I can choose the 5-inch aura right here. The other thing that you'll notice on that menu is the hotkeys just to the right. Control and then the number is the inches of aura that you'll get if you just use the control hotkey to pop the aura out. So let's go ahead, and when you're going to fly, like I said, I pop the aura. So get the aura back out there, 5 inches. And then I just click and drag my model to the edge of that aura for his 5-inch flight. And release him, and that's where he's flown to. And then I will Control 5 to get rid of the aura. There you go. Next, let's talk about checking range. This is going to be similar to flight and incorporeal. So, slightly different board here, but let's say that this Bayou Gremlin that we have up here wants to take a pot shot at that Pteratot. What he would do is pop out the aura that's equal to his range. In this case, his range is 12 inches on his boomstick. So I will go ahead and click him. And I can either right click and choose the 12-inch aura, or I can Control F2. And there it is. And then the second thing that you're going to want to do is check line of sight to make sure that none of the intervening terrain is blocking us. So there's the line of sight button up here at the top. You go ahead and click that, and it gives you your line of sight line. And then you can draw a line from between the two bases of the models. Click and drag. You see it's a little delayed sometimes. The line of sight line's a bit fiddly, but there you go. And then when you release, it will leave the line there on the table for you. And it looks like he just barely has it, so he can take that shot if he wants. Next, let's talk about flipping and cheating. Woo, doing stuff. Okay, so I've got a tot standing on top of a hill. He wants to charge this gremlin. His charge range is 6 and his melee range is 1. That gives him a legal charge if the target's 7 inches in a straight line away from him. So, in order to check that, I will pop up a 7-inch aura, and it looks like this guy's inside of it, so that means that I can charge my 6 and I'll be within the 1 inch to be able to strike afterwards, so it's a legal charge. Let's take my tot and move him the 6 inches down off the hill in a straight line. Then we'll just check one last time, make sure I moved him right. Yep, the gremlin's inside my 1. Okay, so swinging at this gremlin. The tot's base melee is a 5, so I'll flip a card, and I flipped an ace. The gremlin's base defense is also a 5. Let's see here, because I'm not player 2, I just have to kind of finagle it and drag the cards off. But this gremlin flips a 6, so he's winning 11 to my 6 right now. So if I want to hit, I gotta cheat. Well, this tot's feeling particularly ferocious right now. He's gonna go ahead and cheat in, I don't know, let's go with that 12. He wants to hit. So I drag it out there, and you'll see that it's, when I release it, it still has this ribbon on it that says hidden. That right now means that the opposing player can't see my card. It's upside down to them. So if I click it and I right click, you can choose to flip the card, and you'll also notice again the hotkey here is Control F. And I love hotkeys, so I'm just going to go ahead and Control F it to reveal it. And there we go. I've cheated in this 12, which puts me at a 17 to his 11. Let's talk briefly about tracking wounds and conditions. Now, until this point, I hadn't had the starting wounds up, but in the earlier video, in part 2 of these videos, I recommend that when you're setting your crew up initially, you load all your models up with their full health wounds so that your opponent and you can easily remember how many wounds all your models have. In order to track damage, let's see here. We ended this duel. I was at a 17 to his 11. It's going to be a plus flip. We'll just go ahead and discard all of our cards that were flipped for this duel. And I'm sorry, not a plus flip, a straight flip. I'll flip one card for the straight flip. Moderate. It's going to be 3 damage. To track that 3 damage on my Bayou Gremlin, I just simply click the Bayou Gremlin, and then, as I've mentioned before, N and B are the 2 hotkeys that control counters in Vassal, in the Malifaux module of Vassal. So I'm going to go ahead and hit B 3 times to reduce him by 3 wounds. So, adding conditions. Let's say that we wanted to add some conditions to my Nephilim over here. If you right click, you can see the list of conditions by hovering over status. There's things like fast, slow, reactivate, paralyze, burning, poison, blight, focus, etc., etc. And again, the hotkeys next to everything. So you'll see fast, slow is F, paralyze is R. Then we have a list of some extra conditions that Ratty decided to throw in there, like stalked, insignificant, tormented, hemmed. Unique, fun things. I love that they put hemmed in there because I'm a Zoraida player. Yeah, like I said, the hotkeys are right there next to it. I love hotkeys, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you. If you hit F on this guy, it'll give you fast the first time you hit it. Highlight him again, hit it again, F. It toggles slow, which is the little pause symbol. F one more time turns it off. So then for more unique conditions, or conditions that just haven't been included yet, we can go up to the top here to the tokens marker, or the tokens tab, and choose labels, and go ahead and grab a note, drag that down next to the model that you want to denote with the condition, and right click brings up the menu to change the label. Get the hotkeys, Control L. I always use the hotkeys. Control L, and we'll say that we want to give this guy, say, rooted, for example. I'm going to go ahead and put rooted in there. Rooted. Okay. And now my young Nephilim's rooted. The third and final way you might want to denote conditions is if there's something that's going to happen to a bunch of models in the game, like brilliance or cursed object or distracted or something like that. If you right click, you can go to markers, and this gives you little auras that just barely outline the model's rim. So say we want to use yellow for cursed objects. Young Nephilim has a cursed object. I'll go right click on the tot, give him yellow rim, cursed object, and I don't know, maybe Ophelia. Ophelia, give her a yellow rim, and she also has a cursed object. Next we'll talk about dropping scrap, corpse, and scheme markers, and I think that might be it. So, let's go ahead and finish this charge out that we were working on earlier, the tot versus the Bayou Gremlin. He swung once, did 3 damage. Let's swing a second time. I'm going to flip a 13. That's a great flip. Tot's not doing much better than that. Not with this hand. And we'll flip for the Bayou Gremlin. Again, I'm player 1, so I kind of have to finagle it a little and just drag it off the top of the deck. But he flipped a 10. And that would put him at a 15 to my 18. That is going to be a difference of 3 or a negative twist. I'll discard those cards. We will flip 2 and pick the worst 2 for the damage. It looks like it's going to be that 3, so we'll throw out that 7, leave the 3 in play. 3 damage is weak. Weak is 1, and that gremlin will die. So, but before he does, just in case, I don't know, a gremlin taxidermist or something's out here, we'll drop a corpse marker. So I pop open the objects menu, which decides it wants to be super big, and we'll shrink it down. Go to counters, corpse, and that will bring me this corpse marker. Technically, the gremlin player would get to drop this since it's his model. And we'll just say that he wants to drop it, I don't know, the back side of the gremlin. Drop that off. Then we get the gremlin off the game. I generally just drag him off into the sidebar, or the just the side area. But the other thing you can do is if you really want to get rid of him for good, you can Control D to delete him off the map. Scrap markers can be found in the same place right below corpses. But then there's also, super important to M2E, scheme markers, which can be found in objectives, and then standard, and then scheme. So let's say Lilith wanted to interact and drop a scheme marker. I'd drag one into base contact with her. Now, to denote that it's my scheme marker and not the gremlin player's, I can change the color of the rim. You see that it says next and previous here, Control N and Control B. Next color rim looks like it's going to be red. I want it to be purple, so I'm just going to do Control N and flip through these colors. There's green, blue, there we go, Neverborn purple. So now that is a Neverborn scheme marker right there for me. And then just one more time, scrap can be found the same place as corpses are found, right there. And that's it. Now you should know everything you need to know about Vassalfaux. But just in case you don't, you can always reach out to me with questions. I'm at dlesavoy@gmail.com or Doug Lesavoy on SoCal Malifaux or A Weird Place, the Facebook groups. Or finally, you can find me ASAP on the Weird forums and on Vassal. And if you see me floating around in Vassal, reach out to me and ask me for a game. I'd love to play. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you are more confident using Vassal than you were before you started watching these videos, and may you only flip red jokers and never black for damage. And have fun playing. Bye-bye.